Hello and welcome to Thought Provoking Tech. I'm Zach, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the recent AMA that Google Stadia's director of product held on Reddit. So the director of product for Google Stadia, and I'm going to totally butcher his name, is Andrei Durnoshev. But he recently held a AMA kind of covering some of the aspects of Google Stadia. So we have some new details, but we also have some new questions too. And I'm going to go over all that, some of the facts, as well as some of my thoughts in today's video. So without further delay, let's go ahead and get right to it. All right, so our first topic is going to be Netflix versus Xbox Live. And this is something that honestly is annoying to me, but it's not really a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but it is annoying with how Stadia is always compared directly to Netflix, and people say that is not a good value because of that. And it does seem at least Google, or at the very least Andre, shares the same viewpoint that I do, that it's much more similar to Xbox Live, where you're paying for enhanced features and you do get a free game on top of that on a monthly basis, and you're not really paying for a huge selection or a huge catalog of games. Now, Xbox, of course, does have their Game Pass, which is much more similar to what I would call Netflix, where you're paying for access to a catalog of content rather than some enhanced features. So when people compare Stadia to Netflix and say for $10 a month all you get is one game, there's a lot more to that. For instance, with Netflix, you're simply just paying for access to that catalog. There is some compute power required, a very limited amount of compute power, because they're streaming the same video stream to multiple people, maybe not at the exact same time, but it's not something that has to be rendered in real time to every single person that is streaming Game of Cards or Stranger Things, for instance. With gaming, there's a lot more compute power. It's much more intensive. You have a lot more graphical compute power, and you have a lot of bandwidth too. Now, with Netflix, you do have a lot of bandwidth there, so you are paying for some compute power in terms of limited CPU as well as bandwidth. But for gaming, you're paying for much more intensive CPU, much more, or GPU processing power, as well as the bandwidth. So they're completely different things. When you say that Google Stadia is a bad value because you have to pay $10 a month and all you get is a single free game, is kind of a weird viewpoint in my opinion, because you're not really taking into account all the processing power that you're getting. In fact, you have the free tier that allows you to play play games on 1080p, which, if you're playing on a phone, honestly, I know there's phones that, or most phones anymore, have higher than 1080p resolution, but for a screen that is that small and you're playing on it, if you're kind of playing with a controller attached to it, you're going to be playing from like at least a foot away from your head, or on average or so. A 1080p stream is going to be plenty, and you can do that for completely free, and then all you have to do is buy the games. Now, I do have some things about Stadia that annoy me, but when people say that Stadia is a bad value simply because it's $10 per month and you're not getting access to a huge catalog of games like you would with Xbox Game Pass or the Origin Pass that EA has, or something along those lines, that is something that definitely annoys me. And I wish, like, this is a message that it's more of a marketing thing that Google needs to get out there and set the, kind of set the record and educate people the major differences between when you're talking about cloud gaming versus just streaming media, or streaming movies, TVs, or music. There is a pretty big difference, at least now, because movies don't really push the limits of our devices in terms of the processing power, where games have pretty much been keeping up with the compute power that is available for consumers by constantly pushing that, by trying to push better and better graphics. And now we have ray tracing, which is pushing games even harder, or GPUs harder and harder. So there is a big fundamental difference, at least right now, with the technology that we have. All right, so moving on to our next topic, we have some clarification on the free games that you get with Stadia Pro. In reviewing this, it works almost exactly like how Games with Gold works for Xbox Live for the Xbox One generation of games. So, Stadia Pro users will receive one new and unique game for each month that they subscribe. So, say you subscribe for 6 months, you will have 6 different games that you will have earned for being a Pro subscriber. If you cancel your Pro subscription, then you will lose access to those games that you had earned. But say later on down the road, you decide to renew your subscription, any games that you had previously earned, you will regain access to. So, in my viewpoint, that's completely fair. That's exactly with how the more modern games work with games with gold. The Xbox 360 generation games, once you have claimed those games, you have them forever, even if you do cancel gold. But for the Xbox One generation games, if you do cancel gold, you do lose access to all the games that you had previously earned. But if you do renew gold down the line, maybe a month down the line, you will regain access to those games. And Stadia Pro works exactly like that. So I think it's definitely a fair option. It's nice to have some clarification on exactly how it will work. Some people were thinking it might be like a rotating game, so you actually only have access to one game, so there's not a huge benefit to be an ongoing subscriber. But with this plan, there is a good benefit, because if you subscribe for 12 months, that means you will have a catalog of 12 games that you get for completely free. Of course, there's no guarantee that all those games will be games that you're interested in, but it's hard to complain about a free game that you kind of are paying for it, but you're also paying for other benefits such as being able to stream in 4K. All right, so the next topic is definitely something that is a major concern of mine, and that is, what if Google kills Stadia? This was a topic that was brought up multiple times in the AMA, and multiple times Andre claimed that Google is very committed to Stadia. And of course, we shouldn't have expected much more of a different um, statement from Google. Of course, they're not going to say, oh, yeah, we're only halfway committed to this right now. And despite the fact that they're super committed to Stadia now, doesn't mean things won't change in the future. Google Plus was a very big push from Google, and that is a product that is now dead, or if it's not officially dead now, it's in the process of being eliminated by Google. So, with that being said, is a still a big fear. Now, Andre did offer some peace of mind by stating that from day one, we will be able to download all of our game metadata. He didn't exactly state what all this would include, but it does, for 100% assurance, it does include the game saves. Now, those game saves are probably only going to be something that you could transfer to the PC, Mac, or Linux side of things, not to Xbox or PC. But that's not entirely new in the game marketplace. For example, if you move from Xbox to Sony, or if you move from Sony to Nintendo Switch, you're going to have to purchase a whole new game library. You're going to have to start over with any games that are cross-platform play. For the most part, there are some exceptions, such as online-focused games where you have an online profile. You might be able to sign into that same online profile on 2 different consoles. But for the most part, you're going to be starting over in terms of game progress, and starting over by perhaps needing to repurchase a lot of games. But, and that's a big but, Google has a very bad track record of killing products, whereas Microsoft and Sony are much more, and Nintendo, are much more likely to stand behind their product for years to come by. For example, the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 generation last for like 10 years or so. That's insanely long for a gaming device to have support from a very big company. And on the PC and Mac side of things, for example, with Shadow, if Shadow decided to close down their cloud gaming service, give us 2 weeks announcement, or even if they only gave us a day's announcement, all the games that I'm playing on Shadow, the vast majority of them are on Steam. Steam has cloud saves, so all my game saves are backed up to the cloud, and I can install Steam on like a paperspace uh, gaming rig that uses Parsec, and download those games again straight from Steam and have access to my saves. So it's a lot different market. Whereas with Google Stadia, you're going to be purchasing a brand new gaming library. You could be very well be spending hundreds of dollars on games, depending on how many games you play on a monthly basis. And if Stadia isn't popular or isn't successful, for example, if Microsoft's xCloud and Sony's PlayStation Now ends up dominating the market and Stadia doesn't make a lot of sense for Google to run financially, then it's very possible that Google will kill that product. And that's just simply a big fear that we have now. And it's something that until Stadia is wildly popular, like YouTube, it's something that we can't 100% rest in insurance that it will be something that Google will kill. Um, as far as like the technical ability of Stadia, Google has a lot of very intelligent engineers. They've been streaming YouTube, which is different because it's not exactly real time as far as gameplay, but they have been doing live streams and they have been working on getting the latency of the live stream less and less. So they have a lot of kind of introductory knowledge in streaming video and encoding that video in the most efficient way possible, because they have billions and billions of watches on a daily basis. So they're trying to encode the video to get the most quality but also the lowest bandwidth required. So they have a lot of knowledge that's going to be very beneficial to cloud gaming. So on that side of things, I have a lot of faith in Google. The only thing that is kind of a holdup is if Google Stadia will be around 5 years from now. Moving on to our next topic, we have the topic of family sharing, which is definitely going to be a big thing for households that might have more than one, gamer that wants to utilize Google Stadia. So on day one, we will have access to parental controls, but family sharing won't be enabled till early next year. And that's about as far as Andre went. He said that it would be enabled early next year, but he didn't really talk about family sharing beyond that, what exactly family sharing means. For example, with YouTube Premium, you have the option of having family sharing with that, where a single subscription costs $12 per month, but a family subscription costs $18 per month and allows you to have up to 6 people, including you, uh, as part of your family, where you can share the benefits of YouTube Premium, which is a very, very good deal because you're only paying 50% more for having up to 6 other people share the benefits of YouTube Premium. So with Stadia Pro and family sharing, I don't know if that means, for example, it might be $20 for access for your whole family to have Pro, or how far they will take family sharing. It would be very cool to be able to have access to a game library where you only have to buy 1 or 2 copies and people can quote unquote check out a copy of the library. If, for example, 2 people want to play the same game, you might have to buy 2 copies. But if only one person wants to play at a time, you might only have to buy 1 copy of game, where a very, very similar setup could have been done with a traditional console in your house where you have access to the physical disc. That way, you don't have to buy, say you have 4 people in your household that want to utilize Stadia, you don't have to buy 4 copies of every single game so that each person can play it when they want to. So it would be interesting to see exactly what level Google takes family sharing, if it'll more mirror YouTube Premium family, where essentially you can pay a little bit more and give everybody in your family access to Stadia Pro, or if they'll take it even a step further and have the ability to share gaming libraries, which is something that you can do with Steam. And I would love to see that come over to Stadia with the family sharing feature. Only time will tell there, but hopefully Google definitely thinks that forward, because you're with YouTube Premium, the features are much more limited than you have with Stadia, where you're not always going to want to have to purchase multiple copies of the game just so every person in the household can play that game. Of course, you could have a shared Stadia account, but if multiple people want a game at the same time, but not necessarily on the same game, having access to a shared library would be very, very nice and be awesome if Google would implement that feature. All right, so our final topic of the day is some additional details on the Stadia controller. So we know that the controller itself will connect directly to the Stadia data centers using Wi-Fi. But does the Stadia controller support Bluetooth headphones? And the answer to that is no. So if the device that you're using to display your Stadia gameplay, such as your phone and your laptop, supports Bluetooth, then you can use a Bluetooth headset connected to your phone. But if you want to connect directly to the controller for the audio side of things, you will have to use the wired headphone jack rather than a Bluetooth connection, which is kind of ironic because in this day and age, everything else is going straight to wireless and dropping the headphone jack, whereas the controller only has the physical jack and doesn't have Bluetooth. But with that being said, another announcement about the controller or a data point that I actually wasn't aware of is the fact that the controller can connect directly to the device that you're playing on, such as your phone or your laptop, using a USB cable. I originally thought that the way that it would always work is the controller would connect over Wi-Fi straight to the data center. That is the quote unquote default option, but you do have the option of connecting the controller to your phone or your laptop and then connecting from your phone or laptop to the data center rather than connecting directly to the data center with your controller. All right, so that's it for today's video, guys. I hope everybody enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big like. I greatly appreciate that. Also, if you're not already an existing subscriber, smash that subscribe button and also hit that bell to be notified of future videos from me at Thought Provoking Tech. Until next time, guys and gals, Zach out.